Yeah.
Welcome to today's talk session. My name is Deidre Moss, and I'm the host of Can We Talk? I'm an educator, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. In our session today, we will talk about sexual violence and abuse against women and girls. As we understand, this is an issue that continues to impact our community. As we consider recent events, we want to talk about what this means to our community. This is a very sensitive issue, and it is not something that we often talk about. Sometimes we often sweep it under the rug, under the proverbial rug. However, we will continue to shed light. We will continue to shed light on this topic as we continue in upcoming sessions. So at this time, I want to pass the virtual mic to my guest today, Lavita Thurston, to have her introduce herself.
Good evening, everybody, viewers at home. My name is Mistress Lavita Thurston. I have 6 children, at least had. One of my daughters was murdered, my oldest daughter. And I have been raped at the age of 15. And through it all, God had kept me, that I didn't let go. After I got raped at the age of 15, I was pregnant. I wanted to have the baby aborted, and I was scheduled to have an abortion one Wednesday morning. My mother found out about it, and she came and she said, "No, I didn't kill any of my children, so you can't kill yours." And so she stopped the abortion. But after that, everything was like going downhill. I was depressed, pregnant. I went to the guy who raped me because I knew who he was. I went to his mother and I told her that her son had raped me. And she said to me, "Not my good son." And she slammed the door in my face. Right after that, the rain came down and I made a vow to myself. I said that I swear on my own life, I will never let them see my child, not willingly. So the next course of the few months went by. I internalized my hurt. Another family friend started to come around, and he acted so nice, like he was not into sex or into trying to burden me more than I already was burdened and broken. He acted so nice. He used to bring breakfast, sometimes lunch. He used to talk with me, ask me how I doing. And almost before I had baby, they had a surprise shower for me. And he was supposed to bring some drinks. So he came there and he said that he forgot the drinks at home because he went straight to work, and now we must go take him to get the drinks at his house. So me and the lady who I was staying by, we was in the car and he went in his house and he took like 45 minutes. And so she said, "He's taking so long. Go and see why he taking so long. Tell him we have to go because people at the house waiting on us." And so I am not thinking something would have happened or not thinking that he had intentions. So I went, knock on the door. I heard the voice say, "Come in," the door open. At that time, I didn't know how his house was situated. So I walked in the front room, stood by the door, and by that time he had already come around to the back of me. And like he had on this, I think it was a house coat or a towel wrapped around him, something like that. And then he tried to like kiss me And I start to get frustrated and angry. I was scared. And I said, please don't do this. Please don't do this again. And where I was crying and getting loud, he got angry and he started slapping me. And he told me, get my effing A out of his house. I ran out of the house and I went and I told the lady what had happened. And she said, let's go. We're going to deal with it another time. Thinking to myself, why these people just keep on taking advantage of me? 15, got raped. Now this, what do I do? How do I survive these people? And these only men, how do you live with being raped as a child? Thinking, the thoughts running through my mind, Lord, help me. Anyhow, I had my baby and I haven't seen him for about a year after or so. And he came, he apologized, said, I misunderstood what was happening. He'll never hurt me. The talks was really sweet, really. And I believed it because I was still broken, still torn apart, haven't dealt with the rape, depressed, internalizing everything. And so I believed him. And so we connected again. Then a few months went by. I moved in with him. Just when the real terror is going to start. The beating started, the sleeping out, the gambling, coming home 2-3 days later. When I asked him where you was, that's another beating. When I was 7 months pregnant, I was hit with a PVC pipe in front of his mother because I ran out the house trying to run to safety for somebody to help me. And she closed her door and said, not in my house. Leave me out there to get beat. Pregnant girl. I left him. Then he came back by my parents' house, took all my clothes, my stuff, took him back home. So I went back because frightened, no hope, felt hopeless, felt lonely, felt fearful, scared that he would involve my parents, and I didn't want them to know what was going on. And so I kept on dealing with it, kept on taking the beatings, kept on taking the abuse. And then I had my child. And then a year later, I was on my third child. Second for him, but third child. And when we had pre-selected the godparents for the baby. And so 3 days from coming out of the hospital, discharged 3 days, I heard that he had slept with one of the child godmother. So I asked him about it, and he started beating me in the house. In my night clothes, I ran out of the house trying to get someone to help me, one of the family members. But his brother was the same person as him. Then he brother looked at me like if nothing was happening. Only the sister came and started talking to him and telling him, why don't you leave the girl alone? Let her go back to her parents. Why you keep on beating this girl? And she used to come over and talk with me and tell me, leave my brother alone before he kill you. But at that time, you ain't thinking this person trying to help you. You thinking, well, they just don't want you to be there because you in silly mode. You in fearful mode. You in hopeless mode because he done beat you down to his level. He done beat you down to the ground. And so I stayed there. I ended up to the emergency room where he beat me so bad. And then I went home, routine after routine. Then after that, I remembered like one Christmas, his sweetheart bring a his and hers watch. She had on hers and she bring his on to him. And I asked him, why would you do that? That is so disrespectful. Everybody was his cousin then. And one time I even catch him kissing a lady and he said that was his cousin. And I was like, Lord, why am I going through this? Why? I'm a young person, nothing short on me. Every time he beat me, he would get up and want to have sex, and he would hold me down and rape me. Because if I say no, to me it's rape. And I just found out like years ago, if you say no, no is no. So I was raped over and repeatedly. And so I got tired. Enough was enough. So I took all my stuff one day when he get up to go to work. I took my children and I gone across the road with my stuff and my kids. And somebody gave me a ride and I went to my mommy. And that was my breaking point. That was when I got tired. Not even knowing I was pregnant with my daughter then. But I thank God that I didn't know, because I might have gone back because I was pregnant. Because even the night before, I told him, I'm going to leave you. I'm tired. There's no love here. There's no peace. The minute you reach, it feels like a monster walk in the room. The room was always dark when he came home. You always had to be on your P's and Q's, walking on eggshells, just don't get him upset, just to don't aggravate him, don't say something silly that will make him mad. But it was not nothing silly that I was saying, It was not nothing stupid that I was doing. He just was a broken person. Only hurt people hurt people. And so I wouldn't have known that until years later when I left him and I decided to work on my life. But the abuse didn't stop there. After I left him, he still continued to pursue me. One time he came by our house and he slapped me to the ground because I have just walked by a neighbor house. And he wanted me to go with him, and I told him, no, that's it. And my brother hit him with a piece of wood and ended up breaking his hand. He left me for a while. And after that, he came, he said, oh, he's sorry. Now he learned his lesson. And I really wanted him to change. I believed it until this day he took me. He came by our house and he said, let's just go and talk. We wouldn't go by my house. Let's just go and talk. So I went with him by our walking. He had some old boat around there. And we went in the boat and he took me from my trousers, from the neck, and he tilted me over and he said, you see how dark that is down there? If you don't come back home and make back up with me, they'll never find your body. And that was the point where I had to plead for my life, and I tell him I love him, and I tell him I'll make back up with you. I'll come home. Just don't do this. Remember, we have kids. You don't want our children, to be motherless. And then he believed me. And so he pulled me back up. And then we went. He dropped me home. And then he said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. But at that point, I didn't care. I didn't care. When he dropped me home, I just was tired. I just was tired. And so the sex continued. When I go for the children, money from his work. He would tell his co-workers, supervisor to leave because he have something to do. And when I go there, he would just sex me and then give me the money. And I felt like I was prostituting. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to put him in court. And so I went and I pursued the court. I found out what I needed to do. And that's when he got so angry that I had to put him in court. And so a year later, I left him. 1 year after I left him, another young man pursued me. This was the second abusive relationship. I connected with that young man, not knowing that he lied about his age, number one. He was immature, number two. He was abusive, very abusive. But those two relationships, I don't know which one was worse because I got raped by him multiple times also. In fact, one of the times he had beaten me, he turned around and told me, take off my effing clothes. And then he had sex with me. And I believe at that instant, I got pregnant with my last child. And so through all this beating and this abusiveness, I always remember that God, I can always talk to God. I can always pray. And so I prayed, God, remove him, remove him. He used to do a lot of criminal stuff like robbery, armed robbery. So this case he had with this armed robbery, I sat in court and I asked God to please do something. Help me, Lord. And the tears just rolled down my eyes. And he looked back and he thought that I was crying for him, but not knowing that I was crying for me. I was crying for my children. I was being abused. I was being shut up, muzzled, cannot talk, don't know who to talk to, don't know where to turn. And so I was crying right there, asking God, God, please help me. Move him, God, please. Lord, hear me, Lord. And not knowing that God was hearing me, and he was feeling my tears, and he was going to do something about this. And so he was brought guilty. He got 15 years, 3 months. And when I walked out of the court, I was so happy. I was just crying. And he's still thinking that I'm crying for him. He tell me, don't worry about it, baby. Everything will be all right. We can beat this. And I was like, God, Jesus, if only this man know how I feeling right now. If only he could get up in my head and see what I'm feeling, he'll beat me right in front of these police officers. But I didn't care because I know he couldn't do it. They already had him handcuffed and taken him over to the cell block. And so God answered my prayer right there. And I thought that was the end of it, but it was not.
Well, Ms. Thurston, I want to thank you for sharing your story thus far. And I just want to interject for a moment. First and foremost, I just want to say that you are no stranger to this platform. And you're also not a stranger to talking about and sharing your story, which is a powerful story about how you would have overcome abuse and the issues that you would have encountered. And then you also wrote a book about that. And we're gonna talk about your book as well. And I want to thank you again for sharing your experience. And we could come back to that as well. Right. But I wanted to ask you about, can you share with us, what is your definition? I know you talked about your experience, and I know you said no means no. But what is your definition of sexual violence and abuse? How do you define it?
Well, anytime you have to force somebody to have sex against their will, that's not right. You understand? If somebody says to you no, you should respect that person and go your way. Leave them alone. But If you got to force yourself upon someone, hello? If you got to force yourself to have sex with someone, that is abuse. That's a sexual abuse against that person. You violating that person's rights. You understand? That person have the rights to say no or yes. And if that person says to you no, what gives you the rights to infringe on that person's rights or choice?
So anything that is forced on someone when they say, you know, I'm not interested, I don't want to do this, but you still force yourself upon them. And I know you would have talked about your experience and with the relationships that you had and being raped at a young age. But I know that is maybe one of the reasons why you're so passionate about talking about this issue. But I also wanted to, you know, touch on, and is there any other thing that kind of makes you so passionate about talking about sexual violence and abuse against women and girls, and bringing an awareness to this issue? Because I know this happens to other persons, but you're very transparent and very open with sharing your story. So can you share why you're so passionate about talking about this issue?
I share my story because I survived it. There's power in my story. There is healing in my story. There is deliverance in my story. And so I share my story so others can hear, so others can know that, hey, someone else been through it. If God healed her, if God delivered her, God can surely do it for me. I don't have to stay here in this abusive relationship. I don't have to go through this. I can get out. If Miss Thurston can get out, I can get out. And so God didn't give me this testimony to keep it bottled up to myself. He gave it to me. He allowed me to go through it so I can be a pillar of strength to someone else out there who's going through the same type of abuse and relationship problem.
Yeah, I want to thank you for sharing. And it's such a sensitive topic. I think maybe these persons we don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about those things because sometimes instead of getting more of a helping hand, there's more judgment kind of directed toward you. So this is sometimes not something that's easy for people to talk about.
Because a lot of person is shame. You know, when these abusers, when you try to leave, they break you down to ground level. In fact, one of my abusers said to me, if you leave me, what you gonna do? All you gonna do is sell your pee to take care of my children. I done loading you down with a bunch of children, so you can sell your pee. And I say, yeah, we will see. So I have to fight hard to make sure his words did not come true. So they will try to keep you in bondage. They will tell you all type of things. Why you so black? Why you getting so big? They look for the worst words to say to you and put it in the worst way. But you as an individual, you have to find your inner strength. You have to find that inner hope. You got to find God and just pray to yourself. You understand? When the host is quiet and he leaves and go, tell God how you feeling. God already know what you're going through. He already know how you feeling, but say it to him. God, you promised never to leave nor forsake me, God. Lord, I need you. I grew up in church. My mother always sent me and my brother to church. And so I knew that only God could have helped me out of these situations. And I did reach out to God because I was tired. I couldn't do it. I needed him.
So as we consider the current issues in our country and current events that have taken place, how would you rate the levels of awareness of sexual violence and abuse?
But yeah.
Okay, so we'll jump back in. Sorry about that interruption. And so again, as we would have ended on, how would you rate the level of awareness of someone who was impacted by sexual violence? How would you rate the level of awareness in the country?
I would say we're on a level of maybe a 5 when it coming down to awareness, because we look at statistics and we do not, okay, like for instance, let me explain with myself. I am a living testimony. I am a person who willing to share on any platform, right? But the powers to be and the persons what in charge of doing these workshop or whatever workshop about sexual violence against women, they wouldn't even think about putting me on their platform for people to actually hear someone been raped over and repeatedly, someone been in an abusive relationship, not one, but 2, someone who survived rapes. You understand? For people to hear.
So why do you think that is?
Because they look at the position, position. They look at who you attach to, who you know, what your position is. You understand? But now, like how you doing this platform and inviting others who would want to share. It's a good platform. It's a good thing you're doing, because the more people hear about a living testimony, someone who actually been raped, someone who actually been abused, it makes them come out of the shadows. It makes the shame face go away, and they start to think, well, if this lady can talk about her ordeal, why can't I come out and seek help? Why can't I ask, how did she do it? You understand? And so we have to allow persons who willing to share go wherever it is that they can share. Not only do this thing once a year and then rest it down until next year again, when we have like World Women's Day or Sexual Violence Day or something like that. This should be something constantly doing, constantly sharing. Put a poster, I don't mind wherever I need to go and share. If somebody asks me, I will go, because people need to hear it. I'm not after anything. I don't ask nobody to pay me. I'm just sharing my story to help others, because this is a great pain in our society. Women being abused and being shut up, being muzzled. For instance, There's a neighbor where I live through the corner. Her boyfriend, she's pregnant now. I just learned a few days ago that he beats her up because he feel like she have another man on him, right? And I told his mother today, you better put him on notice. If I hear he beating that girl again, I will personally call the police myself. I will help her get out of the house. And then the situation with the little minor that I saw where they say she had like 15 fractures. How a child get all that beaten and you as a neighbor wouldn't even call the police or social service? You just feed the girl and let her go right back home. I blame the neighbors because they could have done something. Now you want to feel guilty when the child is dead? It's a little too late for that. They could have done something. But what they say, oh, we was just minding our business. Minding your business is the child business. Y'all would have been minding your business if y'all to get in that and intervene and save that little girl. That child died horribly. A little frail little body getting beat. You can imagine a big grown adult being a little child like that. You can imagine the misery that child going through. Because when I was getting beaten, it was so painful. The black eyes, the purple eyes. I hurt the getting hit with pipe, PVC pipe, iron pipe, you name it. Get hit in my face with a figurine, iron cast figurine, and my eye bulged out. So I could imagine what that little baby gone through before God allowed her to come home. God had to take her home to stop the abuse. If somebody beating you, why would you leave your child with that person? Why? Don't make no sense at all. But to take the abuse of yourself and cast it on a child, that's what it's about. But anyway, we can't say too much about that. But in my own opinion, I blame those neighbors what was minding their own business. God ain't pleased. They could have saved that child. They could have done something. I had to help myself. You understand? I had nobody back in that day except for the one sister that would come and say to me, leave him, leave him. Even on days when he would go and come back with no money. Big Sunday, I had to drink Kool-Aid and eat bread, pregnant. Sometimes I used to lie to the sister and say, I'm craving for her food. The baby wants some of her food. When all along it was not true. I just was hungry because he spent all his money, come home broke, and then want to beat me up because he nothing there to eat. You understand? And so we all have a responsibility. If we know somebody being abused, say something to them. They knew the girl was getting abused, the mother. She ran outside naked, one neighbor said.
Well, I don't want us to talk too much about that. But let's get into your organization. Can you talk about your organization, Growing God Immensely? Am I getting the name correct? Grow in God Immensely.
Well,
is that the correct name? Growing God Immensely?
Yes.
Okay. What inspired you? What inspired you to establish this organization?
After my daughter was murdered, the screen is blanking out. After my daughter was murdered,
We can see you. We can see you.
I decided to go and apply for a nonprofit organization so I could help others. My mindset was that I've been abused, I've been raped. My daughter died. She was also abused. She was also raped. And so I needed to help others. I couldn't help her, so I needed to help others. And so it was granted, and that's what I do now. It named Grow in God immensely. And right after she died, I got a scholarship from the Wives Club, and I went to Galilee College to do a counseling degree. And at the same time, I was writing my book because I say some people need to know. They need to see a living miracle. I am a miracle, to tell you the truth, because some of the beatings that I would have gotten, I felt like I was near death. I felt like I was going to die. All was like to the head, blows to the head. And there wasn't no small person. One was very thick and the other was very tall. So that was a disadvantage to me. I was no match for them. And so I like to help people because I got my healing. I got my deliverance. And so I say I can help others through the nonprofit ministry and through my story. By giving my testimony, others will hear it and they will try to help themselves.
So you have a desire to help others. And as you would have experienced that, as you would have gone through the experience of sexual violence and abuse directed towards you, what advice can you give to individuals who may be going through the same thing? How can they get out of it, or how can they prevent, how can they, get out of that situation?
I would say to anybody out there who is in an abusive relationship, you can't get out. There is help. There is hope. There's deliverance. There is healing for you. You just have to come out of hiding, come out of the closet, tell someone, find someone you can trust and tell somebody. You'll be surprised to know how much people are willing to help you. Help yourself. Don't stay there and die. That man is abusing you because he's been abused himself. And so to keep you in bondage, he will tell you all sorts of stuff. He'll break you down to his level, to ground level, so you could stay there. But you don't have to stay in that abusive relationship. God has better for you. Tell somebody. If you want to talk to me, you can call me at 428-6803. My email is lavitaThurston@hotmail.com. I am on Facebook, Lavita Thurston. You can Facebook me. You can WhatsApp me. You can email me. I have a book that I have written named From Abuse to Glory. If you want to read it and see how God transformed my life from ground level to present, that I am able to share my testimony on how good God is and how good he has been to me and still being good to me. Okay, the book costs $25. You can get it at Grace Community Church, or you can call me and I can bring it to you. $25, that's it. No gas money, no extra cost, no delivery fee. Like some persons will tell you, but delivery fee when you say you want a book. And so try help yourself by getting out. They will tell you, if you leave me, I will kill you. Biggest lie ever told. They can't kill you if you go to the police and put them in court.
So
Do
let's
not.
talk about recommendations. What recommendations would you make to address the issue of sexual violence and abuse perpetrated toward women and men? And I know you were on the platform before, and we're aware that, you know, this also happened to men as well. We're aware of that. But what recommendations would you make regarding this issue?
I would say anybody who has made a complaint against another, when it coming down to sexual violence, abuse, and they try to go to the station or the police or the court, do not drop those charges. Not at the police level, not at the courts level. Let them go through trial. In fact, if you come there talking about you want to drop charges, charge her too. Charge both of them. Because you can't be wasting people's time. People trying to help you, but yet you want to talk about you dropping charges because he whispers some lies to you. No, go through with the case. I wish the government would do something in that area. You cannot drop that case until that trial finishes.
And as we come to a close, as we close up this session, do you have any additional comments that you would like to add?
I just want to say to all of us, let us do our part. Stop minding our business. Be nosy. Get up in the business. Save that person's life. Because there are 3 sets of family that hurts over the situation that happened last Friday. Okay? If we had got inside the business and stopped minding our own business, those families wouldn't have been hurting right now. It would have been different. The situation would have been different. So let us get up in people's business, especially when that person is being abused, especially when a child is involved. Say something. Call the police. Call social service. At least your conscience would be clear that you have done the right thing. I say go watching people host and watching what they're doing, watching when they're going. Help people who are being abused. Help these children that are being abused, man. Too much violence against women. Even some male that don't want to come out and talk because they feel like, oh, because I'm a man. People will say I'm a sissy for saying I was abused. But it's not true. We need to help these children. We need to help these people. Don't get tired talking. Keep on helping.
Ms. Thurston, I want to thank you for sharing your story and being open and being transparent about your experience and what you would have gone through. I don't think you really hold back. You really do not have any shame in terms of really sharing your story and everything that you would have gone through. And so I want to thank you because you never know who is going to hear your story and who you're going to impact. So I want to thank you, Ms. Thurston. There may be other persons who may be going through the same thing, and they may not be comfortable talking about it. But you're a brave one. You come forward and you share your story. You share your contacts. You're very transparent in your experience, and I wanna thank you for the work that you're doing and what inspired you to continue to impact others, starting an organization, reaching out to those persons in the community and wanting to help young women. I know you also help young women as well. So you're not just talking about it, but you're actually doing it. You're actually trying to impact those who've been impacted. I know you talk and you counsel a lot of women, young women as well. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. You know, and if they don't want to welcome you on their platform, you're always welcome on this platform.
Yes,
okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so thank you. So I want to thank you for sharing with us today. So on that, we will end this session, but we want to continue the talk. You know, we want to continue to talk about this. And like you said, Ms. Thurston, this should be a continuous conversation. This should not just be a conversation on Women's Day or on these observances, but it should be a continuous conversation about this issue, because this issue isn't going anywhere. It continues to pop up and then pop up again, and then it continues in advance. Okay, so the work continues, and I want to thank you for being in the trenches doing the work. Okay.
Amen.
Amen. So with that, we've come to the end of our session. I want you to comment under this video if you have any further commentary, like our page, follow us for future notifications. I want to thank you for being a part of the session. If you're listening in and if you're viewing, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on our other social media handles. So with that, I want to thank you for watching us and continue to talk. Let's continue talking. Thank you.